there are significant players. Like you talk about the Bilderberg Group, and everyone goes, "What the hell's that? Is this an Illuminati thing?" It's like, no, it actually exists, and they do talk about significant changes to this world. You know, depopulation being one of their agenda items, and then you got the Rockefeller Group. And if you look at the amount of wealth that the Rockefeller Group has, like they're in the trillions.
Yeah, but look at the size of the universe.
No, I agree. In the scope of the universe, but we're on this one stupid rock.
I know. Yes. I like this one quote. This quote blows me away. The sun produces more energy in 1 second than the entire human race has ever used since the dawn of time. I actually calculated the amount of energy. I found the US total energy output for 1 year, and I've also figured out how many joules of energy is released by the sun in 1 second. I think it's very close to 9 million years. It would take the US 9 million years to use up the output of the sun for 1 second.
Poor.
That's how far behind we are from a type 2 civilization.
Yeah, that's a huge gap.
That's a huge gap.
Yeah, but we're not focusing on the right things. Like, okay, what are we focused on in this world? Military might and power, capitalism. We're not even solving poverty. We're not solving world hunger.
Oh, but we could.
We're not solving.
It's not a priority.
Clean energy. No, that's what I mean. What are the focal points?
Poverty is not a priority. We could solve poverty like next month.
Yeah. But it would require a significant shift in the way we currently do business.
So you mean the $340 billion we spent on submarines could cure world hunger in Africa?
Yeah. Well, it would
could cure
put
it.
food in their mouths, but we would have issues with the way the political systems are run in those countries.
Yes, they'll just all go to the barons or whatever, the political leaders.
There'll be hoarding of it. Yeah, there'll be some way of someone maintaining a control of it and then shepherding it.
Let's say that if those barriers weren't there, if it was purely economics, if it's purely economics, there's enough food to go around, and if we had the logistics in place, which we could have, I mean, we could bring the third world up, those poorest nations up very, very quickly. It's just the way the political landscape and the economic landscape just doesn't allow it. It's a failure of our systems.
Yeah. It's neglect on a grand scale. We neglected certain countries. We neglected certain leaderships in certain countries, and in some instances, significant powers of the world have manipulated instability and for capital gain, right? And prefer to have those countries unstable from a political sense.
I know you listen to what's his name? He's really old, but his just mind is still so
Steve
clear.
Wozniacki.
No. He's like...
He's grey. He's old.
I think he's in his 90s now.
Holy crap. Oh, wait. You're talking about the financial baron?
No. He's Chomsky.
Chomsky.
Is that who you were quoting?
No, I was quoting Eric Weinstein. I think he was in a podcast recently. I think it was on Joe Rogan, actually, when he was talking about this. So I was just quoting that one. There's no doubt that, I mean, see, this is the problem, right? So we're talking about the fundamental thing about AI and how it's a potential to shape the world for a better and worse world. But we're so caught up in our old day politics. The world is still caught up with potential war.
Yes, Ukraine and Taiwan.
That's Ukraine, actual war, potential war, China, Taiwan, North Korea. You'll see it drummed up every news night. Was it last night? Was Japan accidentally reacting to a missile warning?
Israel and Syria, maybe.
Israel and Palestine, and Israel and everyone else around them. But also, Israel saying, no more to America, saying, don't tell me what to do.
Whoa.
I'll do what I want.
That's a shift.
Yeah, it is. There's a whole lot.
France said, Macron said.
He's doing deals with China.
Yeah.
Yep, and he's going to be doing it not in US dollars. He's going to be doing it, in native currency. Yeah, I think he'll be using yuan, and China, when they purchase things from France, will be doing it with the franc. No, is
franc?
It franc? Yeah, franc.
John Mearsheimer, that's who I was. John Mearsheimer he really goes on about, Australia, you can't be on the sideline here. You're either with America or you're against us. And he said things like, if you're with America, it won't be comfortable. We can be arseholes. Just ask our neighbors down in South America how much of an arsehole we are to them. We can be pretty bad and we can break the rules when we want. But I can tell you, it'll be 1,000,000 times worse with China. And he said something like, you think they're going to just sit there and let you have your sovereignty? No, they're going to do whatever they want to do to you because they're way bigger. So you have the choice of being with America, and it'll be hard. You may not like it as much, but it is preferable to what the communists in China will do to you.
Yeah, so choose your bully.
Yeah, choose your bully.
This one will flush your head. This one will punch the crap out of you. It's up to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what, Australia is a huge country with, a vast amount of natural resources.
We could have been, this AI thing is going to come and it's going to make this point moot, but we had a very, very good geographic situation where we could have really been the central hub for the nuclear economy, as far as
for uranium,
uranium ore, and we have a place to store it in the middle of the country with nobody for thousands of kilometers, and the rainfall. What rainfall?
Wow, climate change, so that's changing.
Well, we're the second driest continent from Antarctica. We're also one of the flattest and least, the ground doesn't move around and crack as much because we're in the middle of a tectonic plate. And the way that the rivers flow, it's like even when it does rain, it just flows out of the continent real quick. So the continent remains extremely dry, and the groundwater takes 20,000 years to reach the coast from the center. So if you bury nuclear waste, even if you bury it in the creek near Ayers Rock, you're talking about 20,000 years for it to get to the coast, apparently.
So what you're touching on, and I don't know the data behind that, but it's about politics again, right? So it's the perception.
Proliferation. There's a lot of treaties that have been signed, but Australia's got a heap of not as refined uranium ore, but it's still fairly easy to get to. Not like Canada, not like Kazakhstan, they got quite easy to retrieve uranium ore. But still, Australia's got stuff, reserves.
Yeah, but it's a political landscape nightmare, right? I'll give an example.
Yeah,
this is where data is not being used to make the right decision. At least that's how I see it. And I'll give you another example. So I was speaking before. I used to work for a company. I was talking to the environmental scientist that the company hired an environmental scientist in order to tackle climate change in the organization. We have targets for 2032 or 2034. Anyway, that's another issue. But he was talking to me about the research, right, in Queensland University. He was part of Queensland University. And they had the data to support that not deforestation, but reducing the number of gum trees in order to basically in a certain area you could forest gum trees, you could utilize them as a natural resource, it could be utilized in many different industries, and there was a koala population, a significant koala population in these trees, and the data was saying that the actual population growth in the koala would increase. So they had significant data to show that you could actually rip out these trees out of the ground, reduce the number of trees in the area, and the quality of life for the koalas would actually increase. They would be happier, they'd have a sufficient amount of food, and the population will increase as a consequence. Yet the perception of pulling and ripping out gum trees in order to support another industry around timber, it was negative consequences associated with politics, and the university was squashing the research. Oh, right? It wouldn't actually support the initiative, and it, simply because of
Public image,
and politics, right? And that's the same, my personal opinion again, same issue you'll face with uranium and mining.
Oh, yeah. 3 Mile Island and...
Same issue with...
Oval.
I was part of a company called Boral. We had a plan in 2002. Obviously, the plan was supported by us because it would create a significant amount of consumption of concrete, which we make concrete. We make the cement product and the aggregates and all that sort of stuff. So it was good business. But we showed that we could build a very large open dish drain that basically went from Queensland down to New South Wales and funneled that dish drain in particular arid regions to create a significant amount of agricultural land for farming, which would significantly boost the amount of food production that Australia could make, right? It was a fundamental shift in the way we could produce food, use sustainable resources like water from rainfall from certain mountains. That just goes out to the sea, right? We weren't actually doing anything fundamental, but it was going to change the landscape, obviously, for those areas. And where it was arid, and obviously there's flora and fauna in those areas, they would be negatively impacted. And so, once again, no, not doing it. All right. I think the payback for Australia in a GDP due to the expansion and exportation of additional food, I think it was 10 years or something for the cost of the dish drain. But anyway, that's how it was. And everyone would tap into that dish drain and obviously irrigate their lands in order to support the additional food manufacturing growth. And it was along certain routes, so the transportation of that food for processing and then distribution or canning or whatever they do for food preservation, it was all incorporated in the model. But the politics around it made it undesirable.
There was, I can't remember if it was here or overseas, there was a study done on speed cameras. They put speed cameras for a long time next to school zones so that you would have to slow down to 40 kilometers an hour at a school zone. And they started putting speed cameras in the school zones. And the study that was done, I can't remember when it was, it showed that the people were spending the number of accidents involving kids of some description, like almost hitting a kid or hitting a kid, whatever, was higher in the areas where there were speed cameras, because the people were paying more attention to their speed than looking out for kids.
Yeah, right.
So
the reticular activating system was working on the wrong object.
It was the focuses weren't aligned.
Yeah, the tension was on the
Tension wasn't
on the wrong detail.
So I think that was repressed for a long time, but slowly they removed the speed cameras from the school zones.
So what would make you think that they kept those cameras there? Knowing full well that it was increasing the likelihood and risk to children.
Maybe fear of a backlash. Maybe they didn't want lawsuits to be held responsible. Maybe they would have been seen as, why did you put these speed cameras? Look what happened. Look how many people were affected by this, class action, blah, blah, blah. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's just, as you've pointed out, there's just so many things that are just swept under the rug.
And that's one thing that I hope, with AI, making smarter decisions based on data would prevail, right?
That's just like, it's, I don't know what you call it. It's kind of like the moral ceiling or whatever, the corruption ceiling. I think it's, I just made it up, just the term, I can't remember what it is, but I'll explain it. So let's start at the lowest level. Mum and dad with the kids. Kid does something, the parents talk to each other. Oh, what should we tell him? Oh, we should tell him that, this is bad, or this is whatever it is. They come up with a solution. Brendan, you shouldn't be doing that. Otherwise, if you keep playing with the knife, I really stuffed up the example. You know how you shouldn't go to bed with wet hair, otherwise you'll wake up blind. Remember that old wives' tale?
Yeah. Like you grow hair on the back of your palms. Yep.
Yeah. Not true. Complete rubbish.
Deception level 1.
Deception. Okay? Collusion between the parties in power. Cover story to the constituents. Oh, but they're just parents. It's all right. Next level. You're at a job. Hey, boss. Can I bring in my friend Stephen? He needs a job. Is he a good bloke? Yeah. He was all right. Look, we have to advertise it legally. We have to advertise it, but we'll give it to him. Don't worry. Corruption, but it's his friend. It's all right.
And that guy's a good employee.
That guy's a good employee.
So he's only vouching for good employees.
But somehow, when you get all the way up to the level of prime minister or president or whatever it is, that stuff goes away.
Yeah, no.
You know that? that stuff actually stops happening.
Apparently.
There is a magic thing called the corruption line, and all corruption, that even though it happened all the way down, when you get to that level, it stops.
Yeah, because, Roy, great power requires great responsibility.
Yeah. We are so gullible.
Well, yeah, we are. Because we like to say that, clearly, this person that I trust. I think this is happening less and less now. I don't think there's too many people that you look up in politics and say, I completely trust that person.
We don't trust them, do we? But, it's kind of like there's certain things that we will just turn a blind eye to. Like, for example, flies, like maybe 20% of the time when they land, they actually defecate on the surface.
Mm-hmm. That's a stat I didn't really want to know.
Yeah, so when you look at panes of glass and flies that have been landing on it, those little dots,
they're poo particles.
Poo particles. Now, when you have lots of flies landing on your hot dogs and your bread and your food, I'm not going to say anymore. But if you gift society with that stat and you drill it into them, can you imagine the mayhem at a picnic? There's flies. No, I'm not going to eat that. It's untenable. The situation cannot be managed. So what do? You downplay it. You just say, look, don't worry about it. It's just flies. And you just let society keep going. If there's a comet about to hit the Earth, what are you going to do? Everyone, a comet is about... No. Just
don't
go
look
about
up.
your business. Because there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, I think one is mass panic and it's like nothing you can do, so let's just enjoy it or let them live in peace for the few seconds they have left. But the other one is we can do something about the flies, but the amount of resources it's going to take in order to solve that problem in an open-aired picnic area. You know what? Actually, I take that back. I bet if we started talking about the fly issue and poo particles on food, and everyone's like, whoa, wait. 1 in 5 chances, every time, 1 in 5 chances of fly landing on my food, it's leaving poo. How many times does it have to land before I've got more poo than food? Is what that's one stat I want to run. And then, what would that park look like? But then, someone would be out there going, hang on. Maybe if I develop some sort of a visual system
ChatGPT
that's looking
GPT-4
at, or
develop a laser
using Wi-Fi signals bouncing off the flies, I'll be able to monitor and track them in all light conditions because it's using a different frequency of light. And then a low pulse laser is just firing and knocking them out. No more poo particles.
And we don't have it because
no one thought about it, because no one told them.
Because it's government corruption.
Yeah. It all stems from the hands that are hairy from doing too much of a bad thing. You must stop it, little Timmy, because that's what's going to happen. So we just basically butterfly wings flapping away, creating the cyclone over in politics.
Oh, that's a good way of putting it.
So parents, stop lying to your children. Tell them the truth.
Look, the corruption has to stop somewhere. Just stop it at the base level. Never lie to your kids. Always tell them the ground truth. It's democracy.
Yeah, well, okay, so I do that, and then every now and then, my wife, beautiful, lovely, I love my wife, it's like, whoa, there are only 5, Paolo, settle down, don't tell them everything. Don't tell them everything. It's like, yeah, probably don't have the emotional capacity to deal with that.
Yeah, I don't tell them anything.
I'll turn it down.
I even tell them about Santa Claus and all this because
Israel.
I gift them this period of time in their life where they're sheltered and they allow their imaginations to grow and they have a childhood. And after they've developed a very vivid imagination, you slowly and surely present the pathetic real world onto them.
Well, yeah, there you go. So there are some lies that we need to maintain. Santa Claus.
Tooth Fairy.
Bunny rabbits for Easter.
I think my youngest, she's only 5, she's 6. She already knows Santa Claus doesn't exist. How did she know that? There must be some YouTubes going around saying that or something. I don't know.
Well, my kids got exposed to it from school and they still believe. So I'm never going to show this to my kids, but they still believe. So my daughter's 10 and my youngest daughter is 8. My eldest daughter's 10, my youngest daughter is 8. And they believe in Santa to this day. And even the Easter Bunny, everything. And they've had that challenge at school. It's like, so-and-so, I won't say their name, came in and said Santa's, a whole bunch of bullcrap and that the parents are just, doing it at nighttime. And I was like, well, what do you believe? Because remember, you don't believe in Santa, there's no more Santa presents. And they went straight back to, no, he's real. He's real. And it's like, I didn't tell them anything. I let them make the choice, and I gave them consequences for that choice.
Because, eventually, especially when they start to get into, differential calculus or whatever at school, you're going to go like, wait a minute. One guy, how many millions of we don't even have chimneys anymore.
Dude, magic and time travel. Everybody knows it. Same with the bunny rabbit. How else? Magic and time travel. They're creating portals. You could have said that they're also omnipresent, but that's getting too close to being a god, and I don't think they want Santa to be a demigod.
I don't know what else to say. That's the cherry on top.
Yeah, this is what happens when you're talking for too long and it's like midnight.
It's midnight. It was midnight an hour ago.
It's 1 o'clock. Well, there you go.
1 o'clock now. 12:55. All right. Thank you, Paolo.
No, my pleasure. And I'll see everyone next week.
Yep.
Take care.